Welcome to the 2020 State of the School Address for Cottonwood Classical. I'm here with Jill Van Nortwick, the President of the Governing Council. We're going to talk about all matters related to Cottonwood, from the big strategic vision to the daily life of our students here at the school. First question for you, Jill. Can you talk a little bit about the major initiatives that the Governing Council has been working on this year?
Sure, it's been a busy year. We have three major initiatives that we've got happening in the Governing Council right now. The first is a facilities master plan. The second one is a new strategic plan. And the third is following through with some diversity and inclusion initiatives that we've been very interested in for the school. The facilities master plan is an exciting plan, and some of the people already know a little bit about it, but there's still more work to be done. We're working in collaboration with a local architectural firm. We've got a representative group who is the working group. They are the ones who are going to be providing the recommendation to the Governing Council. These people have put in an amazing amount of time and effort, and I really appreciate all of the hours that they have put in, which have been during school, it's been after school, it's been a lot of work. And the third aspect of that facilities master plan is also a strong funding partnership with our foundation. The second major initiative is the strategic plan. The last one is finishing up this year. It was developed 5 years ago. We are in partnership with a local consulting firm, and the person who is our major facilitator is actually an ex-parent who worked very strongly on the Parent Advisory Council, or PAC. So we're excited to have him. Talk about another amazing group. This is another representative group, and every aspect of our constituency groups are in that meeting. And if the parents had been there for those students, they would have been beaming. They couldn't have been more proud of the way that those students interacted with the adults and the ideas that they brought forward. They were a real team player, and they were at the table, absolutely, in that planning meeting. Very, very exciting to see. It's in the early stages, but it's happening. The third one is diversity and inclusion. We obviously are working to support you and the teams that you have involved in this. Where we are interested in is on the oversight. And so, for example, we recently approved the new discipline policy. This is rooted in principles of restorative justice, which is all about diversity and inclusion. Another thing that we've done and that we are doing is tracking the work of the Equity Council. This is a very important piece of work. We're really excited and eager to see what the data is that's going to be coming out of the Equity Council. And we're also holding a space in the new building for potentially a serving kitchen, another major piece of a strong diversity and inclusion initiative and policy. So three exciting things that are happening, a lot of work, in addition to the amount of work that we are already mandated to do by our public education department.
Yeah, that's right. I really appreciate the energy of the Governing Council and all the time that those people have put into this process and these initiatives. Speaking of mandates, I know the Governing Council is responsible for fiscal oversight of the school as well. Can you speak a little bit to the financial position of Cottonwood at this time?
Sure. You know, charter schools are interesting because we are a public school in terms of our enrollment and our financing. So we use tax dollars, and we don't have a say in our enrollment. It's through the lottery system, so that's very public. And the charter side of it has to do with our mission. And so when we take a look at our mission and our finances, it's a very interesting dance that we play. The exciting thing about this is we've had very strong fiscal management and oversight, and the school is in an excellent position. And so the complexity is something that we just saw in January, where we have a state legislature, and the politics of our state can really impact charter schools. And so we have to really be careful with that balance, with the politics and also with the stability of the school. And the GCs in the past and up to today have done an amazing job, in addition to the people that work with you and for you in the business management office. A fabulous job.
Absolutely.
Yet Cottonwood, as you know, is one of the top charter schools in this state. We're also recognized nationally as an amazing charter school. And we really are pushing those boundaries, I think, of providing this private education for a public education cost, and really redefining what it means to be an amazing international baccalaureate school.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
So, John, this is your first year, and we're all excited to have you. I'm curious, what do you think are some of the major accomplishments that you've seen in your first year?
I think the most obvious thing to most people is the land. It's something that this school has been trying to accomplish for many years, and through the hard work of quite a few people, including the governing council, we were able to make it happen this year. And the students have been able to use it, to park on it, to run on it, to have a little bit of sports practice on there. Mm-hmm. And so it's been wonderful to have this year. But what's even better about it is what that will say for future years. You know, aside from that, a lot of the work and the accomplishments that have been done this year are thinking about the daily life of our students. So when I came here, I saw with the seniors, for example, that there were some release valves that I could give them to just give them a little bit more space to practice agency, because they are essentially adults. They need a little bit of time to have a feel for what that's like. So we allowed them to have a study hall, you know, and that was something that was new for them, and still maintain the rigor of our program that they're going through. We've been looking at the Bell schedule and the school calendar for next year. That's the Curriculum Leadership Council, or CLC, and that's a group that makes really important decisions for the school. And so that's a big accomplishment for this year. And we're in the planning stages now on looking at program components that we would like to put in place for next year, like bringing Spanish back to grade 6 and 7, and thinking about other ways that we can cycle our electives so that there are more arts opportunities. Because as a strong liberal arts school that's also an IB World school, we need to make sure that arts have equal status with the other programs.
It's been an amazing year in terms of accomplishments, and hats off to you, your team, the teachers, everyone in administration. It's been a lot, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you. Everybody works hard every day, and it takes the whole village.
Yes, it does. So obviously we're coming into March, and I'm curious, you are a parent, you have children of school age. If you were a parent here at Cottonwood and you were considering enrollment or re-enrollment, what sort of advice might you give?
Great question. So I am a parent. I have a 9-year-old and a 4-year-old, and I will use any excuse I can to talk about them. And every year around this time, we talk about how are things going? Is this still the right place for them to be? For my 4-year-old, we're thinking about kindergarten, which is kind of overwhelming, and there's a lot of great options. So that's been a fun process for us. But when you feel like your child is already enrolled in a school that they would continue in for the following year, and you're trying to assess, is this still the best fit for them? The most important thing is to remember, as a parent, when you're asking that question, you're already doing a good job, right? So take a moment to appreciate that about yourself. Then remember that you know your child better than anybody else as well. Better than anybody at the school can really get to know them. And so it's important to first think about, what are your child's motivations? What are the things that are very real for them as far as their long-term goals? And does that school fit those long-term goals? And kind of trying to understand what's the place for your child in the following year, but also whenever they get to the end of that school. So for Cottonwood, I think of it from the standpoint of we are not a middle school and a high school. We are a 6 through 12 school. So we have 7 years of program, right? And so anybody who's thinking about next year for their child at Cottonwood needs to think about next year, literally, but also things like our diploma program for 11th and 12th grade. So we're working on educational programs and information nights for parents of all grades to help them understand what that is so that they can ask themselves questions about the long term here at Cottonwood for their child. We also frequently have alumni here and encourage our families to come in and ask the alumni questions to learn about their successes and challenge them on how much their successes they can tie back to their experience at Cottonwood in the diploma program and taking those courses. We're kind of an open book in that way. So I would say to any parent who is considering next year for their child, they've gone through all of those different ways of thinking, and they still have questions, and they want to have an individualized conversation, reach out to us. Reach out to us. We have academic advisors, we have teachers, we've got an IB coordinator, we have school counselors, we have me. So there's a lot of opportunities to come in and talk specifically about each child.
When we were doing our executive director search, we did a nationwide search, and we happened to find you in a different state, in Pennsylvania, and surprise, surprise, you were from New Mexico. And as we, of course, got the information about you, we also realized that you were one of the founding teachers here at Cottonwood. So on a personal note, how have you found coming back to New Mexico and coming back to the school?
Yeah, great question. So I grew up in Moriarty, just on the other side of the mountains, and many people don't know that. I went to Moriarty Public Schools for elementary school, middle school, and high school. And I got a lot out of that experience, particularly near the end when I got the challenging teachers and the most advanced coursework that Moriarty offered. But we didn't have an IB program. We didn't have an AP program. I did not know until I went to college what all the layers of challenge were that existed in the world of academia and what could be done in more in depth at that level. And so for me, being able to be a part of a strong educational institution here in New Mexico that serves New Mexico students and offers them essentially the banner program of the world, the IB diploma program, I couldn't think of anything better, and I first learned about that program, IB, the diploma program, when Cottonwood was starting. This is the school that saved my career in education because I was very disillusioned by what I saw working in a big traditional school district in another state. And when I came here and interviewed, I realized this is different. I did my research about IB, I did my research about Paideia, I asked challenging questions, and I got kind of excited. And sure enough, boots on the ground, kids in the classroom, no desks, no chairs, it didn't matter. We had clipboards, we had pencils, the kids helped us put together tables when they finally arrived. It was a very unique experience. And so going away from here after 3 years, I was looking for some growth for myself, and I was thinking through just what are the avenues and of questions that we're not asking about the IB program. And it's kind of surreal to think about how that journey led me back here after spending 8 years away. And to now be in this role, still with this school, with this mission, with this beating heart of an organization that I appreciate so much, it's very hard to put into words how that feels. And to know that now I'm in a position where I am the executive director, I have a great team of administrators, I have a phenomenally dedicated staff and teachers, and I get really, really excited about the big picture of what can be done from this seat for these kids with the help of this staff. And I try not to get ahead of myself because I see the capacity. I can see the horsepower and the torque and what will be. And so it's very exciting. It's very exciting, and I get ahead of myself, and I've got to take a moment to pause and appreciate it and not worry about too much happening all at once.
It is easy to get ahead of ourselves when we are so excited
Yeah.
about something that we love.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's clear, that you have the passion for the school. It's very clear. So we're happy to have you back in New
Thank you.
Mexico.
Thank you. It's good to be back, and it's good to be here.
Super. So now let's take a minute and look forward. What kind of exciting things do you see on the horizon?
Yeah, so this is, speaking of getting ahead of myself, right? Let's start with the daily life of the kids, the reason that we exist, right? The IB program, which is not just the diploma program for 11th and 12th grade, but is school-wide 6 through 12 process, a philosophy, a learner profile, a way of thinking, an approach that works very well with the Paideia program, which is kind of our manner of instruction. I'm very excited about what the new Bell schedule will do as far as the daily life of students and having this place feel more and more like an IB school from beginning to end. So, for example, this rotating study hall option will allow us to bring back Spanish in 6th and 7th grade, which is something that we had in the early years of the school. Make sure that language acquisition is a value from beginning to end. It will allow us to rethink the way we do some of our technology integrations and put some further enhancements in there. And most importantly, for the students in the diploma program, it's going to allow us to have the core, which is theory of knowledge, CAS, extended essay. There's a lot of jargon to learn, but it's going to allow us to make that a scheduled class, which will both support the students much more broadly and in depth of support as they need it when they work through all of those requirements. We're also going to be adding some more one-year options for those students because as a default, all of the IB diploma program classes are 2 years, which will give them some more flexibility in their schedule and how they schedule themselves, which is tremendously exciting. The other thing that we're working on right now that's going to be huge for us in the next couple of years is Harvard Project Zero. It's a training program, professional development for teachers, that looks at what IB would call approaches to teaching and learning and best practices that fit with the Paideia program. So what are some little ways to do seminars? How can we do intellectual coaching in more diverse and differentiated ways? So Harvard Project Zero gives some strategies. And as far as I understand it, we are the first school in New Mexico to train, a group of teachers and have them train other teachers, and we're really building something there. So that's really exciting. And this wouldn't be what it is, projecting the future, without talking about the campus. Every charter school, as you said earlier, struggles to some degree with finances for facilities. And we have the land, and that's really exciting, but we want to use it, and we want to make the most of it. So very soon, we will have some new parking spaces. We will have an improved traffic flow for parents and for buses, and we expect to open next school year with those things in place. Additional security measures, more fencing, more landscaping, new cameras. Those things are not nearly as important philosophically to the mission of the school, but they're very, very important in allowing all of us to focus day in and day out on the mission and daily life in this school. That makes them important. That makes them worth doing. And then over time, of course, we want to be looking at a field and an addition and a real gym and a real theater. And so mapping all of that out, it's hard to say exactly what that looks like right now, but it is very exciting, and it will help us continue to grow our programs and offer more to our students.
It is exciting. I think about how we continue to advance our mission, and growing as we have done has really helped us to advance that mission. And so I appreciate all of the work that you and your team have put in, and we look forward in anticipation with all these very exciting opportunities that are going to be happening in the very near and not so distant future. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Joe. Thank you for all of your efforts.